Hey folks, David Stewart here. Hope you guys are having a great day. I'm here to answer a question, which is, what the heck am I doing with these little pads when you see me doing that improvisational music? What are these things and how am I making music with them? Well, this is the Push 3 from Ableton, aka Ableton, aka Ableton. I'm not actually sure how you say it because I've never heard a person say it in real life. Crazy, right? But anyway, it's from them. It's the Push 3. Push 2 is going to have a lot of the same capabilities. It'll be laid out slightly differently, but it won't have some of the expressive capabilities that I want to demo today. So what I'm doing with the pads is I'm playing a synthesizer. It controls a synthesizer right now on my computer. In case you're wondering, this is a document that's open on Live 12, and each track is a different synthesizer, and you can see I'm playing track 3, but we can actually operate the entire set of software from this controller right here, and I can even play notes with my regular MIDI controller as well, my regular keyboard, but these have some extra expressive options. So let me go ahead and demo those and I'll show you what they are. The pad plays a note, but depending on where you press on the pad, you can get it to change pitch and even change modulation. So if I press a note and then I press to the left, it bends it downwards, and if I press to the right, it bends it upwards. If I push forward, it adds a modulation effect. And backwards will reduce that effect. So you can control pitch and then one other parameter just by pressing this. You can also do some glissandos and portamentos just by sliding on the pads. And of course, you can actually do all of this completely independently. You can play a couple of notes just as a straight pad, and then you can play a little floaty melody up here. Which is really fun. Now, what I love about this is that I can do vibrato with the pitch bend. So I have full control over doing vibrato by rocking left and right. It's just like playing vibrato on a cello or a string bass or a violin or viola. So if you're familiar with orchestral strings or you have some experience playing orchestral stringed instruments, this is just a very natural way. I can control it fast or slow, just like I'm playing cello. And you can do vibrato on an entire chord. You can add modulation and vibrato. You can pitch bend an entire chord. You can pitch bend that chord down while so every note you get to control independently. It's fully polyphonic. It's a real joy to play and to be expressive so easily. Now you can, of course, do pitch bends with this little pad, just like you're using a more old-fashioned regular kind of keyboard or MIDI controller, but it's just really fun to be able to control all that just by touching the note. There's some other options that you can do here. So if you're wondering how the notes work, they're diatonic right now. There's a little major scale. Let's put it on this one. But you can change the scale. There's a button over here that says scale. You press that button and you can change it to minor. So we're still in diatonic. We can make it C minor. Natural minor. We can even do over here. We can do harmonic minor. So that'll be add the B natural back in. You know, you could do even weirder scales like Dorian sharp 4. Some weirder flamenco style scales. You can do anything that you want diatonically, or you can use chromatic. And chromatic will stretch all the way across here. It's a little harder to get used to, I feel like, but you can see pretty easily these are the white keys of the piano. right? And the black keys are here. So if you wanted to play C minor, it would be, there's the C minor chord. So you can play things in chromatics. You can even lay it in chromatic, but in thirds so that it's a little tighter. You can see where it lights up, that's where it's starting over. So if you wanted to play just in kind of one area here, you could shrink it down a little bit. You can also do sequential, which basically just puts everything in order, C, D, E, F, G, A, B, C, like that. And if I put it back in key, it's just, you can even go up really high, like really screaming high. And you can change octaves over here. Pretty much inaudible at that point, but you can move the octaves around with the octave keys here. Just a whole lot of options. I like to play a lot in diatonic, and the big reason for that is that it just makes it harder to make mistakes. If I'm playing an ambient piece, I'm not having to move in a lot of different keys or do a lot of chord substitutions like I'm playing jazz or something. So I just don't have to do that amount of thinking, and it just makes it easy to avoid playing a note that's not in the scale. And if I'm switching scales in the middle of pieces, which I frequently do, I'll go from like C to E minor or A minor to like, you know, some other key, C minor or something like that. And I'll slowly change. I can just hit the scale button and select, oh, I'm going to go from C major to E minor, let's say. Right? That's a good little switch up to third. And then I'm not going to play any notes that aren't really in the scale. So once I leave this, I will say that this control doesn't work with every patch. If it's an MPE enabled patch in live, then you can do the modulation effects. Otherwise, you can usually do pitch effects. So you can still play our vibrato. With that. We can still do our pitch bends, but we can't do, there's no modulation that happens. Whereas this one, you get a nice little flutter with that one. Okay. Now, the other function with these pads is actually not just to play synth, but to control basically the looper and sequencer that exists in live. So if I double click this, it's going to record arm that. That means if I press that, it's going to start recording whatever I'm going to play, and then that can loop it. So I have 8 loops here, and I can actually page over, and there's some extra loops over here that we can play around with. Let me just show you how that works, because we can actually operate those loops without pressing these buttons. But I'm going to go ahead and press this button here, and it'll start recording, and then I'll go back to the keyboard. So we get a little count off here. Press it again. Now it's playing the loop. Now I can actually trigger it with a foot pedal. I put the foot pedal over here so maybe you can see it. But if I want to add in another layer here, and I can actually turn that down a little bit so we can hear my voice a little better. I'm going to add in another layer here just by clicking this, and it'll start recording. Press that again, and then it'll trigger the loop. And while that loop's playing, I can actually keep playing additional stuff on top of it. You know, I can play or down here. So I can play stuff that's on top of it, press play and it stops. And we can see, if we go back here, we'll see our loops. And if I press play, those loops will play. If I want to turn one off, I can just press any blank button, and then it's off. And I can use these, by the way, to control. These are guitar tracks. I don't have a guitar hooked up right now. But if I had a guitar hooked up, I could record all the guitar tracks. And then if I want to have that back again, I could press it again, play it, and then it'll start playing. If I page over, you can actually see I already have a bunch of loops here. These are percussion loops. Let me show you the last thing that we can do with this, which is not just to control a synthesizer in this expressive way that I just showed you, but also to control a drum sequencer. So we'll page over here and we'll click this guy. And if we click the notes, we have these. Let's turn that up a little bit. Here's hi-hats are yellow. And when I click the instrument, you'll see that it shows all of the entry points for the sequencer. So this top half is a sequencer, and I could put in some extra notes for the sequencer for whatever loop I'm on. And these are going to be that sound. Those are those entry points for that. So what we have here is this pattern that's like this. The hi-hat pattern. And you can even just play drums like this. Whatever you want to do. So you can actually just play drums with this. There's guys who do acts where like one guy's playing push and like doing percussion and stuff with it, and the other guy is playing another instrument. It's really pretty nifty what you can do with it. So you can operate a sequencer for your drum track or just play drums. That's usually how I put in my drums. Is I'll go over here and let's say we're gonna come down here to this one. I'm going to record enable that. I'm going to hit this. And then it'll play it. And I can hit quantize if I want, if my timing is really bad. I'm not playing with the metronome right now, so it's not on the beat. There's no reason to quantize it. But we will stop that, and we can actually just hit undo. Do that record. Okay, so that gives you the idea of what we can do with this craziness. And let's hit back over here. There's a whole lot of fun stuff that we can do with the push. This has become such an indispensable part of my workflow. I just don't know if I'd be able to do all the things that I do without it. Even without the synth, I just use it to control guitar loops. You can come over here, you can see you can have a whole bunch of loops and you can be turning them up and down and turning them on and off, and just a whole lot of fun to use this to produce crazy soundscapes and all of the big improvisational music that I do with it. But if you have any other questions about it, let me know. I'm not going to go through every exhaustive feature of this particular piece of hardware. It works standalone. So if you see me out on my porch, it's just this. It's all the built-in synths that come inside of this, and my guitar plugged in, and a foot pedal to control the loops to turn them on and off so that my hands are free while I'm playing guitar to do whatever that I want to do. So have a great one, and I'll see you all next time. Let me know if there's anything else that you want to see. Have a great one.